There it is, my first bus I've ever bought. 1990 Bluebird TC2000. I was 19 years old. Fast forward 20 buses, and we're at our 1983 Bluebird Wanderlodge. It's also my first RV. The issue is, sometimes when the door is open, the Stepwell light will come on and the powered step will deploy, which is what it's supposed to do, and sometimes it doesn't. If you ever wanted to see what's behind this panel, you gotta pull all these screws out. There's your throttle pedal right there. And I'm sorry, that's your throttle pedal, that's your brake pedal. I'm backwards right now. We got all your fuses here, or breakers that came with the bus chassis from Bluebird. Anyway, when you look here at this diagram, got this from the Wanderlodge Owners Group. In fact, same diagram is right here, however you can't really read it very well. That was number 13 on here, is your step system. 13 is right here, which is this one. I confirmed it has power like it's supposed to. In fact, all these breakers have power like they're supposed to. So now we get a diagram here of the step system, also from the Wanderlodge group there. And I found that looks like the next thing we need to look at is this relay right here, which I found is in fact this relay. And also I posted on Bookface that this blue wire right there, there's two wires going to that terminal. The blue wire wasn't connected to anything, and I found that one goes to a three-way system, which is right here. So basically what happens is you've got this relay right here. It needs a trigger to see ground to tell that step to deploy, and that you have a step light. Three things will do it. One is this tape switch when it connects to ground. I don't think that's working. Second thing is this middle switch, and that is the one that's on the door, so when the door's open it goes to ground. Or the third thing is a three-way switch, so you got a circuit that comes through here, goes to this switch, which is the one that's at the Stepwell, comes through here and goes to the switch that's on the dash. You can flip it from either switch and it'll complete the circuit, or stop the circuit. When this was working at one point, I decided to make this little diagram. I got out the multimeter and I indicated this top left one here. That was when the door was open, when it was working. So I have indicated whether it had voltage and grounds at each pin, as you can see here. So 12 volts, no volts, no volts, no volts, no volts on the top there. Not grounded on the first one, the second one was grounded. I didn't have grounds on these top two pins, and so on. So then you close the door, and this is what we saw. At a ground there, no voltage, 12 volts there, probably had 0 volts, 0 volts, those weren't grounded. And so on. You can see the voltage that we had here. Then I unplugged the relay and I showed what we saw. So this is, again, this was the door open. We had a couple grounds there and a ground in the bottom right. Looks like we didn't have anything in that third pin from the left on the bottom. And then so on here, this is what the door closed. This is, I noted what the colors, the wires were. Anyway, this blue wire that's right here, it wasn't connected to anything, and then I figured out that on this diagram here, that was connected to the three-way switch system. When I gave a ground to this bottom one, this will activate. So this was working like it was supposed to. In fact, I swapped this relay from one of the ones in the back and we get the same result. It wasn't working. Oh, and also while we're in here, going back to this diagram here, this shows a solenoid. I believe that's this one here. There's also another solenoid down here, and that one is for the driving lights. And if you all wanted to see what's in here, there's your heater, some wires. I don't think any of those Stepwell lights run through here from what I was tracing. We got a bit of a mess in here, but I found that these wires that are down below here, they seem to run up and over, maybe over the generator somehow. I'm not sure where exactly they go. This is another one of my little hacks. If you guys need a bunch of wiring, a bunch of primary wiring, go to the junkyard, go find yourself an old school bus and pull down that top panel that runs across the left side of the windows, or above the windows on the left side. You have the harness that runs everything that goes back to the tail lights, and there's just a ton of wires there and long lengths you can cut out. So here's the wiring mess that goes, or the wiring loom that goes, it goes up and across, and I believe it goes down that pillar. Anyway, so here is our door switch. I found, according to that diagram, This gray one, this is the one that controls the Stepwell light. It's not working though, so I cut it, and right now this switch is open. Alright, so maybe we think we got a bad switch, and I will show you that this operates here. You hit this, hear the click, Stepwell light's on, unplug it, Stepwell light's off. That's working, okay? We just got to give it a ground. Okay, maybe we're thinking we got a bad switch here. And this is the switch, because when it was working, this is the one I would push, and it would make the Stepwell light turn on. So we pull this out here. We got a temporary ground set up here, and I thought, okay, well, let's connect these. Okay. And I'll just show you they're working. Okay, we got ground there. Well, I'm going to connect this here, which also, we'll show you here, there's a gray wire and a white one that goes to ground. Nothing when I connect to it, because maybe the switch is bad. Either side doesn't matter. For whatever reason, there's a break in this gray wire. And I'm not quite sure, this gray wire, when I play with it, it's supposed to go right to this switch, but it actually runs down here, and I'm not able to pull it out to get to this end, so I don't know if it's wrapped around this switch or if it's caught and broke somewhere. I was going to pull this window apart because I'm not sure how else you get to the wiring that's in this door. And my cousin's like, why don't you just run a new wire through here, loop it through, and do that, splice it in, and be done. So that is what I'm going to do. According to this diagram, this wire, this gray one, alright, that goes to this switch on the door, it doesn't go anywhere else after it goes between the switch and over to the relay. So I don't know why it would go down, but we're just going to cut that, splice it in, put everything back together, it'd be good to go. I'm not sure which switch is which is which on here, but there's 3 switches, and I believe this one's for the door, that Stepwell light switch. One of these is going to be for the door lock, because it won't lock unless the door is closed. And then one's going to be for the security. I don't know which one of these is which, but it's one of them too, for that burglar alarm. To further illustrate that the break is in this wire going from here down to the switch, and that it's not the switch itself, I've got a little jumper wire here. Alright, so we go to ground. You can see it works. Looks like the gray wire is on this side, and this is a white wire that goes to ground all the time. So if I connect to that and push the switch, shouldn't matter because it goes to ground all the time. But if I connect her to this side, which is the switched side, push the button, and it works like it's supposed to. So we'll just run a little new jumper wire through there, and it'll work. Alright, as the old wire, I threw a butt connector on it. I left it in here instead of trying to yank it out and cause problems. So when we put this one in here, the switch is open, door's open. Oh, light comes on. Light's on. Works like it's supposed to now.